Okay. Now we're ready. Hi, everybody. Hi to another Catastrophe Healing Talk. And today is Earth Day, and we going to talk about the future of Earth and how to build that. It's kind of a subject that's very, very dear to my heart, and I think dear to everybody's heart that's here. And I guess a lot of people on a spiritual journey, it's also very close to their heart. And we are living in at the end of an era. The world that we have been in has ended. The ancients say it's over. And now there are forces fighting over what the future of this world will be. And I think if we want a world for the future that's different from what we have been going through, the crazy stuff the last few thousand years, we really need to start envisioning it and dreaming it. And there's a lot to talk about and many different aspects to look at and share and consider. But I think let's start with the envisioning part and how important that is and how we do it in our world, and then see what else comes up and what else we want to address. My name is Helmut, and I am here with my amazing friends, Lora and Lora. Hi, guys. And of course, Kay, a beautiful human, Kay. My wife and the author of The Reluctant Shaman and Sacred Link. And Kay is going to start us off with what the spirits have to say about this, and then we take it from there. Have fun.
Well, this is kind of the place where my learning about all these things, the teaching that I went through, this is where it starts. This is the primary reason that the Hedicas came into the United States. And that was to pass on their ancient knowledge. Now, their tribe, the Hedicas tribe, has been around for a really long time. According to them, they've been an intact group, a tribe, for at least 30,000 years. I'm not really sure on what the date is. They weren't. But when Lemuria, or Mu, the continent in the Pacific that sank, it had a very highly developed culture, already ancient culture, a culture where there were many different sorts of people. The humans of the time were there, and many species of aliens were there. Some lived there all the time. Some came and went, and they all lived together. They all mingled together and shared things. And there's a fabulous knowledge that was held there on that land with those people. And for the most part, most of the time that they were there, which was many millennia, they were very peace oriented and love oriented. Everything was centered around being and living love and sharing and teaching love. And everything that they did was based on the concept of love and caring for others. So all their technology, their way of life, their relationships, everything. They were into healing techniques that were all this knowledge. Everything was shared openly. There wasn't anything that was kept just to one group and held secret, or they didn't live like that. Everything was open. And when the land became threatened and they knew that they were going to lose the whole thing, the whole, whether it's a big island or a few islands or a continent or whatever it actually was, nobody really knows. They were going to lose it. It was all going to be underwater and sinking as well. The land mass just sinking down. But the waters were rising as well, because we had that time, there's ice ages, and then the melting of the ice as those periods of times changed and everything warmed up, and the seas would rise up. And my impression is that they had an awful lot of low land that was very vulnerable to the changes in the sea levels. And they had a lot of time, a lot of warning that they need to leave. They need to find other places to live and take their culture. And for whatever reasons, I was never told, but they decided to break up into different groups and go in different directions. Some went into Southeast Asia, where Japan, Korea, China is now. Some went south, like Australia. Some went to the Americas, South America, Central America, North America. And the Hedekas group went to South America, and they arrived in what is probably Peru, and lived near the coast for some time, and built new cities and established those environments. But for different reasons through all these years, is that their arrival was a good 30,000 years ago, somewhere in that neighborhood. That's a long time. So lots of things happen. They decided to leave those lands near the coast and go up into the mountains, and they made settlements there, and then they moved again, moved over the mountains, and this is the Andes Mountains, and back into what would be like Brazil, into right now it's jungle, and I imagine it was jungle at that time, but I can't really say. But they were there for a long time in the flatlands on the east side of the Andes. Big cities, huge kinds of buildings, and all these pyramidal type structures. It was a very big, complicated society, culture. Their main goal for all the groups that left Lemuria, their main goal was to keep their way of knowledge, the knowledge that they had, the way they learn, the way they live and share, the way everything is built on love. Love is the most important thing. Caring for each other, equality, good health, lots of healing practices, and they did lots of gardening and animal husbandry. So their times, keep changing. People change. Their neighbors keep changing, and hostile people ended up moving in pretty close. So they gave up their big cities and they moved into the eastern side of the Andes Mountains, still in jungle territory, but along the edges of one of the really big rivers that flows out into the Nile, not the Nile, the Amazon River. So they were there for a good amount of time, very happy, and careful about their neighbors and who they associated with, who they would let close to them and share with, because there was coming more and more people who were had a hostile nature, who wanted to take things, conquer, make slaves, stuff like that. And so they ended up moving farther away from the big river and up into the really rough and tough parts of the eastern side of the Andes that's still in the jungle. It rains a great deal there. There's lots of cliffs and canyons, and it's just nobody would really want to be there. And then you can't grow much of anything because the jungle's so thick. But they grew small amounts of things, but mostly it was hunting and gathering. And they just kept keeping to themselves. And this is their goal, is that they needed to keep their knowledge pure and clean. No outside sources of beliefs and ideas coming in to contaminate it or change it. And they worked very hard to pass it on through their generations and keeping it intact and keeping it away from most of their neighbors. So with that kind of way of thinking and living and believing, and that was their goal. That was the big important thing, because they knew the ancient teaching said that there would come a day when the world would have the end of an era. One of the, like the Hopis talk about, we have 4 eras, 4 worlds that we've been through, and we're approaching the 5th. They have the same kind of idea. And they knew that as we were approaching this, what some people call the 5th world, the place we're in right now, that the knowledge would be needed desperately, and it would need to be passed out around the world to all the human population, because we would have forgotten it by then. All of the knowledge and teachings that came from Lemuria and from Atlantis and from other truly ancient places and cultures, and from the stars, ultimately from our star relatives, that the people would have lost it, and they wouldn't know how to live anymore. And they're destroying themselves. And the world that they would create would be what they would call upside down and backwards, broken. And that's where we are right now. So the Hedekas, in following their beliefs and their promises to their ancestors, when they knew the signs that this 4th world would be ending, and were approaching the fifth world, that they would have to physically, some of the elders, some of the ones that have studied and learned and lived the longest and the most of the ancient knowledge, would have to go out into the world to these other places, other cultures around the world, to share this knowledge, share this information, and bring it back to the world. Because we have the opportunity in our culture and its time and age that we could destroy all of humanity. We have the ability to do that. We have the ability to completely destroy our planet. And they need to, their feeling is that it's their responsibility to get the knowledge out to all of humanity, so that we don't destroy ourselves and eliminate the human race, eliminate all the life on the planet. So that's when the Hedekas left their homeland and trekked up north to get into California. And this is where I met them. The very first things that they taught me about is this story, is their history, and the importance of this knowledge being learned, being absorbed by at least one person in such a way, in such a depth, that they could pass it on to their own people, into their own culture, with their own language. And so that's why they wanted to teach me. I spent a good 13 years actively with them, learning their ways. And it's not just learning some ceremonies and things that they say, or the songs they sing, or that's just the surface. That's the dressing on the top. What really needs to be learned is how to think differently and how to feel emotionally inside of ourselves different. Learn a whole new way, heart-centered way of feeling and living and being. In our crazy upside down, backwards turning wheel is coming to an end. In this culture, we have learned how to think and feel and believe in an upside down and backwards turning way. Everything is crazy and cockeyed. It's backwards. Instead of love being the core, the foundation of everything that we are as a living being, and all of humanity as living beings, as a race, and all the things on the planet, all our plants and all our animals and the soils and the water and the air, everything. It all has a foundation of love. It's all birthed out of love. Every molecule is born out of love. And this is the way we were intended to live and be. Excuse me. So in order to do that, we have to start looking at the way we think. how do we think? What's the machinery? How does it work? How do we learn to think? In what kind of ways and what kind of patterns? What did we learn to believe from day one? What are the things that we were taught that we came to believe and believe very deeply and dogmatically as being absolutely true and critical that we keep that way of believing and thinking? What are those things? We need to stop and take a look inside of ourselves individually, each one, each person, and take an account of that. What are we holding inside of ourselves with these ideas and these beliefs about who we are, what we are, about what the human race is, about what life is, about the purpose of life, about what all this other life around us are trees and the plants and the animals, the birds, the water, the sky, the air, the soil that keeps everything growing and fed. What is it that we believe about all those things? What do we think they are? What do they mean to us in our lives? We grew up hearing things like humans are the dominant species on the planet, that we own the planet and everything on it and can do whatever it is we want, that we are supposed to take over and dominate everything and use power over other to force the trees and the land and the soils and the animals and other humans to do just what we want, be what we want. If they're in our way, destroy them, get them out of the way, eliminate them. We've learned how to believe that that kind of power over other and control and forcing is our God-given right, just because we're humans that exist here. It's a very violent way of believing and thinking. When that's how we start out, when that's the bottom line core of what we think, what we believe, what we feel emotionally, what we feel with our physical senses and our spirit senses, the only thing that we end up doing, or could possibly end up doing, is to create an upside down, backwards turning wheel. And that kind of energy takes things apart as it moves. They think of it as a wheel, upside down, backwards turning wheel. And as it moves, it tears everything in its path apart. And it even tears its own self apart as it moves. It's reached a point now, the end of this era, the wheel is so crumbled apart, we can't pick it up and shove it back together and glue it and paste it and force it to still be there the way we were used to. It's falling apart and its time is done. It's gone. The ancients had this belief, this understanding of the past and the future in ways that are hard for us to imagine. But they knew without a doubt the Lemurians and the Atlanteans, which means the Atlanteans created Egypt and the pre-dynastic Egyptian culture. It was basically an Atlantean culture. They all knew that this would be coming, the end of this era, that upside down, backwards turning wheel tears itself apart, that culture falls apart, cannot sustain itself. Something has to replace it. A new world, a new era has to replace it. And that's why they kept their knowledge alive, their way of life alive, their way of thinking and being and feeling. That's why it was so important to them, so that the next world that gets created is one based on love, based on a positive turning wheel energy, which creates things. It's all about love and aliveness and the integrity of our beingness, our individual beingness, our entities, which they called song. They called our spirit, our soul, the entity that we are. They called that a song. And that's a poetic description, because they felt that really helped describe the aliveness and the beauty, the poeticness of our aliveness, of who and what we are. And everything that is alive, everything has a song, everything has consciousness. And it all starts, it all grows into existence in our 3D time space out of love. That's the firstborn, is love. Everything grows out of it. That's the basis of what we are. And we need to learn how to be that and express that again. We've done it before. We did it in Lemuria, did it in Atlantis, did it in the very, very ancient pre-flood Egypt. We did it in other places around the world. And that's what these teachings are all about. It's hard for modern humans, especially in our modern culture, to understand that the way we think, the way we learned how to think in this culture, and what we learned how to think all the time, what we learned how to imprint into ourselves as our base core ideas of what existence is, what life is, what life should be, who and what we should be, how we should be interacting with each other, with the rest of life on the planet. It's hard for modern culture people to stop and look and be honest with themselves. What are those things that we learned how to believe? And all of our thinking, all of our decisions that we make in our lives, and all the interactions, the words we speak to each other, how we build relationships with each other, it all grows out of these core beliefs, this way of believing and thinking and understanding and feeling, the way we feel ourselves, the way we feel ourselves emotionally, the way we feel our aliveness, or perhaps for a lot of modern culture people, they're not feeling it. They forgot. They forgot what feeling aliveness is like. Feeling life in ourselves, in other things, all the other things that are alive around us. And the idea that the soil is alive, rocks are alive, the dirt's alive, water is alive, air is alive, everything is alive and conscious and feeling and communicating. And we can interact, we can communicate with all of it on very, very deep levels. Our ancient forefathers and mothers did that. That's the way they lived 24 hours a day, based on love and aliveness, and this love of life and aliveness. Feeling it in ourselves. That's where it's got to start. Just feeling that aliveness and that we are conscious and that we are an entity that has always been alive and conscious. And even though we weren't in this particular physical body, we've been around. We've been around a long time, and we've been in other kinds of bodies, human bodies, all sorts of other bodies, and experiencing other kinds of things in the cosmos throughout our universe. And we hold that history, we hold the memories, we hold the knowledge and the gifts that we have earned and gained through the eons. And we can bring it forward into this lifetime. It's a resource. We can bring it forward into this lifetime, and it can inform us about anything we need to know, want to figure out, want to understand. We have that capacity. In the backwards turning wheel culture, we shut that all out. We turned it off as much as we could. We shut it out of our awareness. We shut it out of our culture, our cultural knowledge. And we believe that all that kind of stuff doesn't even exist. We have to change that. We have to find it. We have to go back inside of ourselves and find it. This is what the Hedekas would call waking up, because we've been in a very deep stupor, a sleepness, a cultural sleepness that has taken over most of humanity. And it's been here with us for a very long time. And it has grown so big and so strong through the millennia that now it affects most humans that are alive in at least some way. But the modern culture people, very, very, very affected by it, completely dominated by it, by this asleepness. So that is the goal and purpose of the Hedekas, to help humanity wake up again and help this new era, this new world that is starting up, to be one based on love. Love of aliveness, consciousness, connectedness to everything. Deep, deep emotional experiencing that's not tainted by modern culture beliefs. To learn how to think fresh without our thoughts being tainted by the old belief system. Tainted and distorted and twisted, all that stuff. That's why we do things in this Kadasi tradition, ceremonies, song ceremonies, learning how to feel your own beingness, your own song, and explore it and wake up those memories, the knowledge that we carry, the aliveness and love that we carry. Gratitude ceremonies, they are very surprising at what they can teach you, even when you don't set out to be learning those things. They teach you. And the weaving ceremonies, weaving on the web of life of Mother Earth and the human race, healing the web of life. And that's a very important set of ceremonies that just get repeated and repeated and repeated and repeated, doing these incredible healings to our web of life, which means the blueprint of life. And that's a personal thing for each human, for each thing on our planet. It's the web of life of the planet itself and its atmosphere. These are the ways, the ancient teachings, that they've passed this knowledge down. The Hedek has brought it to us so that we can do that. We can reweave the web of life on this planet, heal the damage that our backwards turning way of living has caused, and heal all of humanity in incredibly deep ways, and bring about a new kind of world, one of great beauty, great love, great aliveness, great creativity, great connectedness and sharing. So that's what it's all about for us. So I think I would like to hear some thoughts from Lora and Helmut, and anybody in our audience who has some comments or thoughts or questions, spill it out. Let's talk.
Beautiful. Okay, thank you.
That was fabulous.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
You want me to go first?
Well, I could hear it.
Yeah.
It was a little loud.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It was great.
I think about when the universe delivered your two books to me, and it was quite the adventure just to read them. The first time I read them, I think I read them each in a day, and it was still wow. But it was just amazing how even then I read it, and I've read it over and over again. But and now, of course, I'm living the teachings, and it's just amazing how it has transformed my consciousness. Like I see things differently. I feel things differently. I've been spending time every single day in the awareness that I'm a creator, and that my thoughts count, that my thoughts are making a difference. And it's really easy now when you start to see those little fragments of the old wheel, and you can pick it up and look at it and twist it and go, wow, what did I believe about the world to have this influence to me right now? And then I can make another choice. The teachings are so empowering and so changing, and it just brings happiness to my life and joy, because I see that love and I feel that love, where before, the influence of the backwards turning wheel kind of just blocked it all off.
Yeah. I see a lot of what you were saying, Kay, about and you've been saying this to me for years, about you can't put together what's broken.
Mhm.
You need to build the new thing. And so much of what I'm seeing right now is putting together broken pieces to make a new form. But so many of those pieces are broken. And I think, yeah, it's
Throw it away.
really, people are having a hard time, including, I mean, it's one of the awarenesses, definitely I'm seeing more of. It's always been there, but when I'm hitting my own blind beliefs, it was like wanting this and then feeling a wall of a blind belief that I can't, that I'm not more, and I don't have power over this, or it's too big for me. A lot of blind beliefs around how small I am, or how disempowered I am. That I'm supposed to be leaving all of this stuff to like you and Helmut to take care of. It's like, oh, they're doing good work. I can just sit back over here and listen. And one of the things it was like, there's a lot of spiritual practices that are really, or I should say the ones that I dabbled in before then, the fake it until you make it. And I think that faking it until you make it is a lot about putting those pieces that are broken back together and making it look like happiness. And I bought into that, and I did it. I mean, it was like, and the difference for those who stay the course, and I'm pretty sure I faked it until I could make it to Inkatasi. So that was the first 9 years, but staying at it, I just feel very fortunate, that something in me that did not keep just putting together the fake parts, and really listened and tried the practice and just kept chipping away. Even as unsuccessful days, something stuck, because those little bits of opening, when you touch it, true happiness,
Mhm.
and the power and the health and my favorite word is always beauty of it, because it's like there's that a vulture just flew by again. There's a big shadow over my window. That unconditional love and beauty, that is available, it's just that is what carries you tonight. I want more. And that's the world I want. And it is possible. And it's possible for me, little me, who's not little at all, to really do it. I mean, I'm seeing how much unhappiness is the sickness of this planet. How popular unhappiness is. It's been made mainstream. The t-shirts that say I hate everything. There's an aspect of it, and I appreciate the rebel, rock on, to like that this is not the world. I don't have to like the world we are, but is probably a stepping stone to where we are now. So I don't want to judge that. But the power of one person being happy is not insignificant. True happiness, not patchwork, backwards turning wheel happiness.
That's where the power is. That's what real power is. The ancients used to say that our aliveness, our song, our consciousness, that's where the power is. That's where real power is. It's not in force or power over or violence or destroying things. Real power to do whatever you want, whatever it is that you want to create and do or be or feel or experience. The real power is our attention. And where we've got our attention, putting our attention to things that are destructive is counterproductive. We're taught in modern culture that that's where power is. To be able to be physically overpowering, force, power over other. And you're actually giving your power away when you do that. You're throwing your power away. The real power is the focusing on love. Love and beauty and happiness and the aliveness and the exquisite beauty of everything else in the world that is so alive, and your own aliveness and your own song. That the incredible beauty of it is just staggering, mind-boggling. That's where our power is, with that love, with that beauty, with aliveness, aliveness begetting more aliveness, focusing on that and believing in that. Whatever it is we choose to aim our attention at, with that as the foundation, that's where real power is. And that's how we change the world. That's why doing things like the song ceremony or the gratitude ceremony or the weaving ceremonies, where we are healing the web of life of humanity and earth. We're bringing the love and the beauty there. We're bringing life energy there, our own life energy, life energy that's everywhere through the universe, and channeling it and asking the universe to participate with us and join and add their attention to create something of great beauty and aliveness, with all the potentials of being more than it started with. As things live that are birthed out of love and beauty and kindness and connectedness, it all grows. The life energy grows, it increases. The happiness increases, the love increases, the beauty increases, the creativity, the sharing of everything back and forth. It all grows, it increases. And in these ancient teachings, that's how they would magically manifest things with their thought, with their intent, their heart, their spirit, their song, their love, focusing their consciousness on whatever that is that they want to be working on. And it manifests with ease and really quickly, sometimes very surprisingly quickly. That's how they do healings. That's how we do the healings on the web of life in the weavings. That's how we do healings on ourselves or each other with the healing arts techniques from these traditions. Very, very, very ancient way of being and living. And the human species is ready. It's ready now. It's ready to learn how to be this way and live this way and design and grow a whole new culture, a whole new world, to heal all the wounds that we've created from the last world. We're ready for that now. That's where the power is. You hear a lot of people talking a lot about power. Now they want power and they're after power, and everybody that should be their big goal, is to have power, be more powerful. In the old way of thinking, that's all upside down and backwards, forcing and violence, power over, dominating. And you can see the broken pieces of the wheel. It's all over the ground. And the ancients used to say, the Hedek has always said to me over and over and over, you cannot pick up those broken pieces from that old upside down backwards turning wheel and try to shove them together and remake the old wheel, or try to remake a new culture, a new cultural idea. It's just still upside down and backwards, and it will fall apart, and it will it's not based on the right things. It's based on all of the wrong things, the things that made that cultural wheel upside down and backwards to begin with. So we have to start with the love. The universe was built out of love. First thing born is love. Everything is built out of it. And that's what we need to keep our eyes on. And remember that. Love, beauty, connectedness. All the things that come with that.
I'm in.
Me too.
Okay, let me share a couple of links here.
Deanna's in.
Yeah.
Vicky's in. Hey, there's 5. Woo!
All right.
What again? Okay, we're starting one of our courses later this year, the Call of Your Song, which is teaching people a lot more about all that we just talked about, that Kay just described and we talked about. It's called The Call of Your Song. You can find out more at katase.world/call of your song. Let's see. Then we have the gratitude ceremony every weekend. The next one is this coming Sunday. If you want to join that, katase.world/gratitude. Then the weavings. If you want to learn more about those, katase.world/weavings. I think that's it. I got it. This is beautiful, beautiful sharing. Thank you all. Thank you, guys. We have some questions here. One of the reasons I wanted us to talk about this, and I hope we have more conversations about this, because there's a lot more to, I feel a lot more that we can share and address and put out there. But one of the things one of the main reasons I started this subject and this theme is I feel an urgency for this. I feel there's an urgency to us getting our asses in gear and getting our act together and starting to really envision and dream a different future. From what I have learned, there are forces out there, there are groups out there that are working really hard to continue the new world the way the old world was and get us even more asleep and enslaved. And I personally do not want to live in that future. So that's where the urgency comes from for us to really understand what power we have to change things and use it to build a different world. I do believe we have as I wrote in my piece, a once in human history opportunity to change everything. You have any thoughts to that?
It's very true, because the kind of power we have, the power, not right, the right word, but I don't know of any other word, the level, the degree of power that we have to manifest things, change things, fix them, heal them, bring healing, is so big. It's so incredibly powerful. We have far, far, far more, so much more power than those so-called powers that be that are running the modern culture on this planet. They think they have all the power because they have so much money, they have so much control, force over so many other people and systems that they think they're invincible. They think that's what power is. They have violence, all that stuff, but it can't compare at all to the power of focusing our own consciousness, our own intent based on love and beauty, and wanting a world that is based on love and beauty and the purity of our own songs and song to song interactions, sharing, the creativity that we have as humans, especially if we're awake instead of asleep, because our creativity is literally turned off when we're asleep. So we have astounding amount of power. And the more that we are using this power and this focus together on the same things, the same concept of wanting to build a whole new world that is based on love and beauty, caring, sharing, connectedness, where everything about love it's what fuels everything.
Okay. I soon just broke.
Whoops. Yeah, you are frozen. Can you hear me? Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
Laura's.
we can hear you, but we see Helmut's frozen.
Yeah. That may have something to do with recording. He's the man with the buttons and the dials over there. He says it's just a second. He'll take just a second.
Hey.
Okay.
All right, we're back.
We are back. We're taught some of those core beliefs that we learned from the old culture is that we are powerless. We were raised with the belief that we are powerless, that we are small and little and worthless and of no consequence, and that everything is separated. There's nothing connected to anything else. That the only way to survive is some way of using force. And those are lies. You know, we've all grown up living a whole pack of really disgusting lies, really disempowering, destructive lies. And we have to clean that out of ourselves and realize from our own experience of our own aliveness and our own song to realize the degree that everything is created out of love. It is the foundation. Love, happiness, caring for each other, connectedness, all the humans connected to each other, connected to the aliens, connected to the trees and the plants and the animals and the microbes and the soil and the water and the air, the rocks, all of it. That awareness of that, of all of that, is so incredibly empowering. And we realize the power that we have, and that if we ask all these other things around us that are alive, even the rocks, the air, the water, and other humans who want to join us to work together, to focus all of our attention, all our power, all our love on building beautiful, beautiful new world. The Hedicas used to say, dream the dream. Dream the dream. Picture the way you would want a world to be that's based out of love. And keep picturing it. Keep letting the image of it, the feeling of it grow inside you as you do this. We do this when we do gratitude ceremonies. This is part of what we're being thankful for. And we experience them when we do song ceremony. We learn all about that power that we have inside of ourselves and that's inside every other living song, every other thing in our whole universe. The beauty that's there, that this is, yeah. It's something that we feel and experience on all levels, physically and through our senses, and with our heart, our emotions, and with our spirit senses, to feel all of this and how powerful we are, because those so-called powers that be that are trying to control this upside down, backwards turning wheel and scrape together the pieces, They can't hold a candle to the power that we have. There's no way that they can win if we start learning about our own power and choosing to focus that. Focus the love and the beauty and the beautiful ideas of a new world. You don't have to look at the old broken pieces of the upside down, backwards turning wheel. You don't have to feel them. You don't have to pick them up. You leave them where they fell and they will decay in a proper, natural way. We need to think up new pieces. Any thoughts, Lora? Lora?
Well, I wanted to, and I don't remember the quote, Helmut, maybe you can say it, but you had it in the email blast about, you quoted another gentleman who had written about not looking over there or where our focus lies. Oh, I was trying desperately to remember it because I think that,
Buckminster Fuller,
yeah,
you can't change the existing things by fighting them. You have to build an entirely new model that makes the old one obsolete. Obsolete.
I love that quote. I'd never heard of it before, so sorry for those. I'm not, but it was, my mom used to say that. It was like, stop wanting that to be different. Stop fighting that. It was, build the friendships and stop trying to fit in over there. She'd often say, build the community you want. And she goes, you'll be surprised, over there will come here. And I kept hearing, because I'm noticing my husband started a new job and that's a lot of what he's doing. Instead of poo-pooing what they're doing, he's creating a new culture over here. And it's making changes where over there, instead of arguing and fighting and battling it and trying to make them different, he's being the light. He's showing a different way of being and creating a different culture. And so I sent that quote to him and I'm like, this wins. I've seen it over and over and over again. And that's, I'm assuming that's what we're doing, Kay.
It is.
Oh, good.
I tell myself I'm the 100th monkey.
You're
I'm the 100th monkey. I'm the tipping point. It keeps me focused. I'm it.
I must
people.
have been the
I'm
99th. No, but I love that. I love that quote and I love it. It just makes it, I see it and I've experienced it. And so it helped me. Not that I wasn't going to do it already, what you were saying, but thanks, Helmut, for quoting that, because it really helped me historically see in my own life that don't go, people are looking for a fight. People are looking at, anger's addictive, fighting's addictive. I've seen when, out here, when one protest ends, somebody's looking for the next thing to be angry and protest about. It's almost addictive. It was just like, and that's just not me. I'd rather build the beautiful garden and offer them, an opportunity to just come to the better place. Instead of fighting over there, why don't we build, gather our forces and build a castle, than trying to make our rundown shack of a village better. I don't know. I really don't. But I like that quote, and I could see why dreaming the dream, stepping into it, building it, laying the foundations would work. So let's do it.
Let's
Become a
do it.
weaver. Sorry,
I think
Kate.
that's beautiful. I think there's some follow-up conversations that we're gonna have about this, especially particularly about not fighting and building something new and how to do that. I have a couple of things. Anamika, if you're still here, you had a question in the Q&A. I lost that question when my software crashed, so it's gone. If you
I
guys
have it, Helmut.
okay, hang on before you
Sure.
get to that. I want to get to that next. Pam, thanks for sharing, and your question about aliens and star people. That goes. I mean, it's an important question, but that aliens and star knowledge. It goes beyond the scope of the talk today. We would be here for quite some time. So maybe we address that in a future talk. Vicky shared something quite beautiful. So much of what you teach either resonates with me or is something I have found to be true. And you keep adding more and more, and the beauty seems endless. And that drew me to Katase. And the rest I can't decipher. Then I found this beautiful group of people all walking here, and I'm so happy to be here and looking forward together and weaving together. Very cool. Thanks, Vicky.
Thank you, Vicky.
And let's go to Anamika's question.
Laura's going to have to read it. I didn't bring my glasses.
And there's a comment from Wendy. I'm going to read that too, but go ahead, Lora.
The first question is how to be heart-centered to people who are violent. And 2, everything is alive. Also, cars, objects, all made of molecules, ?
So I didn't hear the question, the first part very well.
How to be heart-centered to people who are so violent is the first question.
Yeah, that's a question that has been asked for so many millennia. Because when we've been raised with the violent paradigm that everything has to be about fighting and arguing and conflicting, everything's a conflict. When we start to focus on our own inner self and the inner workings and how our thoughts are working and where the thoughts come from and these basic core beliefs that we've taken on and hold inside of ourselves very, very dogmatically, they're all from that backwards turning wheel. They're all based on this fight, the fight that just goes on and never seems to end. When we see that in ourselves, and we see that we're looking at these people maybe on the internet or the TV or in a movie, or maybe they're in the office with you, or they're all around. And our first automatic response that's trained into us, it's automatic pilot, is something defensive or aggressive, something that puts you in the fight. It's a fighting response. And it's not based on love, it's based on some level of anger. and all the things that come with it, and distrust and our belief in our disconnectedness, and that everybody out there is out to get you. And that if you don't watch out and do something about it when you see that, and get forceful, that you're going to get stomped on. It's not necessarily true. If you want to be part of that dynamic and that culture and that way of life, it becomes true for you because that's your choice and your belief. But when you break out of it and you see what it's been hiding love and beauty and great aliveness and great connectedness to all the other people and everything, all the other things, everything. Connectedness in a way that there's love and life energy traveling back and forth between everybody and everything, and information, caring, help, healing, nurturing. All those things are there. They're part of us. They're part of the world that exists around us, in the air and in everything else and between everything. And it's all deeply integrated. When we see that in ourselves, we see that, feel it, we experience it, we feel it in our own song, and we can feel all of that in the aliveness and everything around us. We realize that we don't have to be part of that world that is all built on fighting and anger and hatred and disbelief and within each other, and everything is a conflict. We don't have to be part of that world. We don't have to hold any of those beliefs. It's our choice. When we let go of that, and those things, like Lora suggested, they're addictive. They're very addictive. As part of what they are and how they work and how they continue to work, it's because they're so very addictive. An addictive way of thinking and feeling and reacting. And we learn to react on automatic pilot with that as the base. But when you step out of that, get out of that box, you start to wake up, you find that everything is based on love. And you don't have to respond to any of it. You don't have to become part of the fight. You don't have to become defensive. You step out of it. And you be the love and the gentleness and the cooperation. And with unconditional love and unconditional acceptance of all these other people who are still in that box, we feel love. They have big, beautiful songs, just like you do, that have lived for eons upon eons upon eons. They've been so many different kinds of things and peoples and beings and experiences through the universe, just like you have. They're utterly, extraordinarily beautiful. They're just doing this dance for who knows whatever reason. They're doing that dance. They're learning about the asleepness and that whole violent dance. And we can honor that as a spiritual choice, that is their part of their purpose in this lifetime. But we don't have to be like that. We don't have to join them. And we can show, we can demonstrate what living with awakeness and song and aliveness and honoring and respect for everything and seeing the beauty in everything. Just live it and be it, no matter what. And it affects everybody around you. It affects those people who are asleep. And the more they experience it, the more they see your example of it. It changes them. And little by little, they start dropping their old way, and that box starts to crack and crumble. And before you know it, they're wanting to live and be the way you do. They want to learn how to do that. So the ancient teachings say, just keep living your song, being the love, being the connectedness, being the creativity of the new world. Don't bite that hook. Don't buy into any of the junk that they're spitting out. And they will give it up. Might take some people, a very short period of time, because it sinks in, it gets to them, and they want to get out of that really ugly, ugly box of distrust and hate and violence and fighting everything all the time, being fearful and angry all the time, full of anxiety. People are realizing that they don't like the way that feels, and they really don't want to be like that anymore. And as they see the example of how to be different, what that looks like and what it feels like, and what people's lives are like who are living that way, they want it for themselves. They want some of that. And their box starts to crumble away. And person, by person, one at a time, we hit the 100th monkey. We've managed to create that phenomenon. And if anybody doesn't know what that is out there, it's an actual scientific study about these monkeys on these islands. And on the first island, there was this mother monkey that, who knows why she did it to begin with, but she started taking her roots and the fruits and stuff to the water, to the ocean, to rinse them off before she ate them. And her children, of course, learned it from her and copied. And then other monkeys on the island started copying. And all of a sudden, all the monkeys on the island who'd never even met this one monkey and her kids, they all started rinsing their food off in the water before they ate it, which was a good habit, because when they ate it with the sand and stuff on their food, it would grind their teeth away. So as they got older, their teeth would be getting worn down. But lo and behold, on the island next door, all of the monkeys were starting to do the same thing, wash their food. So it speaks to our connected consciousness, our group consciousness as human species. And when enough people, according to these ancient teachings, enough people wake up and they are living this way, that spontaneously the rest of humanity will wake up and start to live that way, each with their own, variations and additions to the theme, because it's not a cookie cutter way of thinking or living, but it's a way of living based on love.
Okay. I know there are more questions. Annemieke, I would encourage you to bring this theme to the next mentorship, which is in a couple of weeks. We can talk at length about it. We're already 90 minutes in. I think we should close it out here. Vicky is inviting people to join the Thursday briefings. We'll talk more about that. And I'd like to talk with you, actually, Vicky, and kind of see what we can arrange for more people to join. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining, asking questions, commenting, sharing. Thank you, Lora and Lora. Beautiful. Always such a delight to gather with you and dig into this stuff. And Kay, always so exciting. I am listening to you forever and ever. Okay, if you want to join us for the gratitude ceremony every weekend, alternating between Saturday and Sunday. The next one coming up this weekend is on Sunday. Katasi.world/gratitude. You're going to find out about our course, The Call of Your Song, coming up later this year. Katasi.world/call of your song. And the briefings, if you want to learn about those, katasi.world/briefings. And you can find the Loras at loraketty.com. And on that site, you can also learn about her upcoming pendulum class.
Yes. Our pendulum class. Laura's
Their
coming along with
upcoming
me this
pendulum
time.
class. Yay. loraketty.com. Okay. And I want to continue this conversation because there is more to dig into, more cool stuff.
There's more questions popping up.
Yeah, we got to pick those up next time.
Okay.
Any last thoughts?
I think we got it covered for this time, but this is a much longer conversation, and we will keep adding to it.
Yay. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining. Thank you, guys. Love you. See you next time.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Love you. Thank you, Loras. Thank you, Helmut. It's always an honor and a privilege.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.